Well, first, I want to welcome everybody to Race, Law, and Health. I'm Dr. Kevin Jenkins, and I'm certainly glad that each and every one of you are enrolled in this class. And as I said in the email, I am certainly glad to be your tour guide of sorts on this journey as we uncover the ideas, the principles, content, the history, and even the contemporary problems of race, law, and health. Um, I unabashedly talk about race, so I hope to empower you to feel confident to be able to discuss race issues once you leave this course. Um, First and foremost, I want you to know that I do believe in social media. So as you see, I have a race talk hashtag that you guys can take a look at, and make sure you join all the social media components for this class. I think it's all those things are available to join. Um, and you see my contact information here for you on the screen currently. And again, please note that the formal contact for me will be my email address that you see listed, kjenkins at aa.ufl.edu. Um, yes, I do love social media. Yes, I communicate with folks on social media, but I do want to make sure that all official contact information that we have, any questions about grades or anything like that, can always come through the official channel for the University of Florida. Um, and I think it's also appropriate that I tell you this, and I said it in the email. I'm currently a lecturer at the University of Pennsylvania in the School of Social Policy and Practice. Um, so I am based out of Philadelphia, and if you hear any loud construction or any crazy noises during any lecture that I do, they're always doing construction up here, so it's always loud. So the best I can do is try to make it as quiet as possible. But please note that sometimes I do get a little busy. I travel quite a bit speaking and doing presentations all over the country. So at times it will be difficult for me to respond to emails directly and particularly quickly. So I try to get to emails within 24 to 48 hours. If I don't get to your email within that time, it is certainly acceptable for you to send me another email. Um, and I do have an email etiquette. Yo, what's up is not my name. I have to say these kinds of things early on because often we get kind of confused in how we talk and things like that. So I would prefer Professor Jenkins or Dr. Jenkins as a salutation. And I guess I shouldn't even preempt it. I do expect a salutation in all the emails. And please make sure that you're not using text message conversation as we communicate. So what we're going to do today is go through an overview of race, law, and health, and kind of what's going on, what we'll be doing, all the assignments, all that good stuff. I know all of you all are testing me out to see, oh my goodness, whether I really want to take this class. More than likely, you read the email thinking, dang, that's a lot of work. And quite frankly, it will be some work involved in this course. I won't mince words about that, but the thing that I want you to be excited about is, number one, the content of this class is built directly from a book that I'm working on right now entitled Refund My Freedom: How the Law Created Health Inequity in the Black Community. And I think this is one of the most powerful, burgeoning arguments about the idea of race, and particularly critical race theory, law, and medicine as it regards to black people, that you all are on the cutting edge of this kind of research that you're going to see over the course of the semester with me. Um, and I'm just excited to share it with you. So I want to again admonish you that don't drop the class because it's a lot of work. You're going to have to work anywhere you go. But one thing I can promise you is I've set this course up and structured it in a way that is certainly friendly and amenable to you and with all the things that we all have going on. I mean, trust me, everything that you give me, I got to grade it. And I'm not going to give myself busy work to grade. I'm giving you things that I know are going to help you. But I'm also going to do something that was extremely helpful for me during my studies as a student, which was working with someone to get a paper published. If you don't have a paper published, my goal by the end of this class is that you can get at least 2 publications out of this course. That's the best nugget I can give you, and doggone it, if that ain't good enough, I don't know what is. I mean, that's an excellent thing. And the way we're going to do that is really by trying to push you to a different way and push you to a point of what I call uncomfort or discomfort, but a point that's going to put you in a position to really think about what Earl Smith talked about, and this idea that the true tragedy in most people's lives is that they are far better than they imagine themselves to be, and as a result, end up being much less than they might be. And all he's saying is that I know there's some greatness within you. I know that there are good things that you can do. There's some things that you are very great and strong at. And the truth is, we let laziness, we let the fact that, oh my goodness, I got to do a paper, I got to do this, I got to do that. We let all of that stuff get in the way. So let me go ahead and be completely upfront. You won't in one sitting have to write more than usually 2 to 3 pages. And we're only going to have to do that probably 4 times. So at the end of this class, you're going to have, I think, 3 legal briefs or something like that, a policy paper, and then the papers that we write together, which will be a collaborative effort in which I'll be writing most of it, but you guys will have, I'll assign you different components of the paper to write. So we're talking about, at most, about 10 to 12 pages as a conglomerate for this whole class. That's it. So I don't want you all to run from your better self because you got to write. Because you're going to always have to do that. And I think I'm structuring the course in a way that gives you this opportunity. So let me tell you a couple of things I've learned, or really a few things I've learned as a teacher. And the first thing I've learned is that all of y'all Google me at some point in life. So I tried to take the mystique out of it by presenting my social media stuff and everything that I do up front, so there are no questions, no qualms. You know who I am, you know what I do. If some of you have met me while I was in Gainesville at the University of Florida, you all know I'm a fun, funny, crazy dude. I like to have a lot of fun, but I'm also about my business when it comes to the classroom. So you'll see that, and I'm not, shy or ashamed of that. So I'm never afraid of posting stuff. So if you guys follow me on social media, you guys are in for a great ride, because I have really scholarly days, and then I got real ratchet days. So I've learned that you guys Google me. So just be careful, because sometimes it tells me that you're looking me up. The other thing I've learned is we are friends. Really, we're friends until grading comes, right? I've definitely learned that. I've learned that, whether I, give you every ounce of notes, if I gave you every answer to every test, if I gave you an A on everything, you're still going to come back with an evaluation that says, oh, he didn't do this, or he didn't do that, he didn't do this. So the only thing I know I can do is give you what I think is the best quality experience for race, law, and health. So I know I'm gonna work you now. You're gonna have to work. It's gonna be equitable, and it's gonna be fair. It's gonna be humane, if you will. So don't look at this as, oh my goodness, we got all this work to do every week. Just understand that I've been where you've been, and I would never put more on you than you can do. But also I want you to know that the best courses I've ever had in all the academic livelihood I've had, the best courses were the ones where the professor actually made me work. And those were the courses that were always better. Nobody wants to show up to class and, in this case, log on and sit through a bunch of lectures that you're not going to be tested on. All you got to do is listen to a million lectures, and then by the end of the class, some way, somehow, you got to go through, and I know how you are. You're going to try and be watching hours of lectures before the midterm. So I'm going to go ahead and help you out and make it to where you don't have to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put you in a position where you all can do well, and you all won't be like this little kid in the picture trying to fight me at the end of the semester. I'm going to put you in a position to get an A. I'm not saying it's going to be an easy A, but it's going to be an A that each and every one of you should be able to get. Now, the other part of this class that I want you to know, and that I've learned as a teacher, is that every single one of you hates group projects, right? And if you can see this, these slides of this picture that we have of the Hangover crew, I know there's somebody like that in each one of these groups. But the unfortunate part for you, for this class, because it's so small, you all will be in a group with me. So a lot of this stuff that we see on this screen will not happen, because you guys got to answer to Dr. Jenkins at the end of the day, okay? So I want to make sure that you all know that is that all group projects will be facilitated by me. And we will set up times to chat with each other. And I'll talk about this in a little bit through the slides. But the main thing I want you to know is I front loaded this class so that most of the heavy lifting for the course, a lot of the writing and kind of the crazy stuff will get done really by midterms. And then from there, we'll kind of be what I call downhill. So we'll be downhill with the course where basically all we will have to do, you'll do lectures here and there, but the big thing that you guys will be focused on is getting the writing components done, the peer-reviewed stuff that we're going to do together, working on your policy stuff, and shaping up your notes for your exam. I can guarantee you that if you do what I tell you to do, you will come out of here with an A, and these group projects are not group projects. These are writing groups that will get you published and advance you in your professional aspirations or academic aspirations. So let's talk a little bit about the class. The first thing I want you to note about the course or the course objectives, of race, law, and health. And I want you to know, I want you to understand from the sociologic perspective on race, ethnicity, class, culture, gender, and their impact on health. Oftentimes when we talk about particularly race and ethnicity, we're often talking about them more in a biomedical context, which treats race as a variable and not treats race as more of a socially attached mechanism, right? So it's a mechanism that's telling us that, if you're this complexion or if you are of this race or this ethnicity, if you do this, that, and the third that has anything to do with race or ethnicity, what that usually says is there's some social cues that come from that. The biomedical folk don't deal with that very well. And I've been trained as a health services researcher as well as a sociologist and a historian. So you guys are in for a treat because I know how all of the sides talk, and we're going to address those. The next thing about this course, and one of the objectives, is to systematically deploy critical race theory within medicine. And I can go ahead and tell you now that critical race theory is something that has not been very successfully deployed in medicine. So this class and a part of my book is really addressing how critical race theory applies to medicine. So we'll dive really deeply into that, and that'll actually I think that'll be your second lecture, which will be week 3. We'll talk about that. And that I love that lecture. It's called Chasing the Boogeyman. So the next thing that we'll deal with is to methodologically distill critical thinking into translational communicative form. So what does that mean? Blah, 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 blah. I know. Sometimes I be feeling myself when I'm writing and I forget that, I just need to say what I got to say. But when you're in these academic spheres, we got to show the big words to let you know I got credibility. But what this is basically saying is that I want you to be able to systematically, methodically understand, to break it down using critical thinking, and then take that stuff that you have thought about critically, methodically, you have placed here, you thought about it, you took all these theoretical buckets and said, all right, now let me translate that in a bunch of different forms. So if some of you all are like me, I've got all kinds of family members. Some are very well educated and some haven't made it past the 7th grade. And the thing that I have to remember is no matter how excited I get to talk about critical race theory, somebody like, my grandmother wouldn't be able to understand that as well as somebody like my brother who's also a college professor. So we have to be able to translate in the best forms possible, and I'm going to teach you how to do that in this class. We're going to engage social media with the work that we do. We're going to engage policy people, because the way you talk to policy folks is not the same way you talk to your Facebook friends. But most importantly, the way you talk to your Facebook friends is not the same way you talk, particularly in an academic setting. And what policymakers and academics talk about are also totally different. So we're going to make sure that we address all of those things, and we're going to address them equitably, okay? And then finally, we want to investigate legal and legislative interventions within the black community. So one of the things that I try to kind of dispel this weird myth that law is somehow an objective, inanimate object, right? Many people have approached law as if it's not, a voice or an opinion of people, which it is. And we want to talk about how the law has addressed the black community when it comes to health. And I'm going to start you in 1796 and bring you all the way to today. My book covers all of this information, and we're going to get through this in this class where we look at it not just simply from a contemporary view of what's going on with health disparities, because guess what? Health disparities have been around for a long time. So it's not like folk don't know they exist. But the problem is that the legal and legislative interventions don't match what the problems are, right? So we're going to discuss that and really, dive more deeply into that. So let's talk about the learning objectives. So learning objectives, when it comes to academics, we need to tell you at the end of this class, what should you have learned, right? So I want you to be able to describe the historical development and current contours of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. So all that is, you're going to know these very well. I want to get you to understand the law. I want you to really understand particularly civil rights law and what that means as it regards to health. How civil rights law has impacted the health of the black community. Next, we want you to be able to present the tenets and medical application of critical race theory. We are going to beat critical race theory to death, all right? If I was Drake, I would just say we're going to go back to back with critical race theory. I'm going to just keep drilling it, and you're going to have to respond. You can't be Meek Mill out here, y'all, all right? I need you to respond back to me when it comes to this work. Critical race theory is a very popular theory of race that has minimal application when it regards to medicine. So one of the things with my research is what we're going to do is we're actually going to, we dive deep into it. So I'm working with scholars from all over the country right now on different works and different articles and different pieces that kind of deal with how we deal with critical race theory. So I want y'all to be ready, okay? The other thing that we'll be learning in this class and that you'll be able to take away from this is how to confidently note the conceptual alterations between health difference, health inequity, and health disparity. Many people use that term interchangeably, and it's incorrect. So we'll help you with that, and we'll, that'll be next week's lecture that we do, and that's called "Injustice Makes Us Sick." And next, we'll also look at how to discover how health inequity develops within vulnerable communities. So it's not simply saying that, oh, we got health disparities, but we'll talk about this a lot, but there are two paths to get to health disparities. There's health difference and health inequity. And I'll just say it in short so I don't go all into it today. But health inequity in itself means somebody had to do something to you to create a bad health or health care situation. So health difference often insinuates the idea that you did something to yourself. So it's diet, you didn't exercise, you didn't take your pills or whatever. Health inequity means somebody did something to you. So we want to discover, I want you to be able to tell somebody cold when you start hearing these stats about black people who die faster than everybody else. We're not going to have that. Talk to me about the health inequity of that. What are people doing to black folks in order to develop this idea of inequity in their community? So we want to talk more about that. And then lastly, we want to properly assert the historical role of black people within medicine and as medical practitioners. So that's something that I have taken a great pride in as a historian, because many people didn't realize that there were doctors that were black during slavery. There were black slave physicians. There were black slave nurses. There were black slave doctresses, which are women physicians. We have all of that. And I'm actually writing up a course for next semester, if you all are interested, if y'all don't hit the drop button by the time I get done talking. But we're writing up a course for next semester called Brandon Jezebel. And that is talking about black women as medical practitioners and how medicine in itself really branded black women in the antebellum period, so during slavery. So it's on fire, y'all. I mean, this is going to be crazy. So I'll introduce you to a little bit of that with one of our lectures. And, that's where we'll be. So let's go ahead and get into the structure of the class. So as I alluded to, this class is front loaded. So it's going to be a lot of work the first, I'll say probably about 5-6 weeks. And then you're going to notice a significant drop off. All right. And the reason why I do that is because, number one, I get really busy when it comes to speaking season. So I travel and speak a lot. I can go ahead and tell you the whole month of October, pretty much I am on the road from Thursday to Monday and back here in Philadelphia to teach on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I am gone a lot speaking the whole month of October. So I try to give you a good solid foundation for our class, and then I move you forward pretty quickly so that all the work that you submit to me, I get it back to you fast. And I usually don't even tell you. I usually just, put you through so much trepidation toward the end of the semester and say, all right, now all the work you all did, I'm gonna let you go back and fix it. So I'll just go ahead and tell you now, so we don't get into that situation, that as long as you are at a B level or higher on the work that I give you, I will give you the opportunity to go back and fix particularly your papers. When it comes to legal briefs, only dealing with papers, with your legal briefs and also policy briefs and any other writing components. Now, when it comes to the quizzes and the discussions, it shouldn't be an issue. These are just about what you read. So you should be able to answer these questions flatly and plainly. So the lectures and quizzes will cease after the first week of in November. So it'll be November the 6th. So remember that, okay? So I want you all to note that we won't have lectures during this period in time, okay? And the reason why is that we're going to be doing our translational research project and policy paper after that date. So we'll only focus our classes on that. We'll schedule weekly calls. It'll be conference calls with me. It won't be the whole class, but it'll just be those who are on my team for whatever team paper you're working on. We'll collaborate with each other weekly for progress, and we'll be knocking out stuff together, okay? So it'll be pretty easy, pretty seamless. And finally, your final exam will be during finals week, and it'll be administered online through Canvas. So please note as well that your quizzes and your discussion posts, honestly, are going to be your final exam questions, give or take. Loosely represented, but pretty much that, all right? So the format and structure that you see is what you will see on your final, all right? So if you don't take those seriously, you will not do well on that final exam. So we'll talk about that toward the end, but the thing that you all need to know is that I am here to make sure that you do well, okay? But you have to do well too. I can't do it for you. So let's talk about course evaluation, assignments, etc. You're going to have quizzes and discussion that'll be worth about 10% of your grade. Legal briefs are worth about 25% of your grade. There'll be 3 of those. Peer review commentary, that's the translational research project. So it's kind of coded differently in your syllabus, but it's that is your translational project. That's 25%. 10% goes to a policy brief, and 30% is your final exam. So your final exam is weighted heavily, and I just want you to know that literally everything minus the translational project, the peer review commentary, goes right back to your final exam. So I have made sure that all the work you do this semester will go straight to your final. So you will do well. All you got to do is be engaged. I can make sure of that, all right? So let's talk first about your quizzes and discussion requirements, okay? So regarding your quizzes, this is what's going to happen. Necessary for weekly content assessment and mastery, okay? So we're doing this because I need to make sure you're reading. I need to make sure you're kept up with everything. The quizzes will only be 3 questions, and there'll be 10 points for each quiz. So I'm assuming that most of y'all, I know it should be 9, but honestly, I'm a stats dude, so I'll take all those point blah, 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 blahs. I don't really care about that because I assume all of y'all are going to get the 10 points each week. The discussions will be 1 to 2 prompts weekly, and those prompts actually help us to be able to have great conversation outside of the lectures. So I'm going to try to make the lectures short so that we have enough room, and I'll be engaging in communication with you as well through your discussion posts. So I want you all to go back and forth, and I'll go back and forth. I'll challenge you on some things if they're not right. Um, you can leave your opinions to Facebook and Twitter. I only want to know what you read and how you distill it or interpret that based on your readings. So everything you say on your discussion needs to be backed up. But I talk about that in the syllabi, so you can get way more information on that. You will not be able to access the lecture notes or any other items until these assignments are completed. So if you don't finish your quiz, or you don't take your quiz because you didn't read, if you don't pass your quiz as well, I should say that if you don't pass your quiz, you will not be able to access the module for that week. So you would have to send me an email. All right. Now this is where it gets sticky. You're gonna have to send me an email just to say, "Hey, Dr. Jenkins, I did not pass my quiz, and I need I need access to take it again." And the reason why I'm doing that is you should not be failing these quizzes. If you're not taking them seriously, we're gonna have to have a long, long talk. Okay? So you won't be able to access anything or move forward in the modules until you pass each quiz and post your discussions. As time moves forward, if you have an assignment due, such as a legal brief, and you don't submit that, you won't be able to access the modules. So the reason we're doing that, again, this is an online class, and you can't just check out for a month and then come back and say, okay, now I'm going to do all my work. I'm not going to allow you to do that because, quite frankly, I taught a class last year. This was an in-person class. But I taught a class last year where I kind of let my foot off the gas a little bit with some of my students, and I ended up having to fail 6 people because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So instead of me, allowing you to fall off the rails, this time I'm not going to allow it at all, okay? And finally, if you do well on these things, you will ace your final. I can guarantee that. All this is about is I want to give you all an A. I really do. I want to give you an A, but if you try me, I will not fail. I won't hesitate to fail you, all right? Like, I hate saying those kinds of things because people, they think it's a threat. But the truth is, when you take these kinds of courses, you got to do your work. You have to do your work, okay? The legal briefs, the requirements for the legal briefs are all in your syllabus. I have an example of an A legal brief from one of my previous classes that I taught for race, law, and health. And the thing that I want you to know is that legal briefs are supposed to be concise and comprehensive. So you need to make them short, but just because it's short doesn't mean you leave out everything, all right? You need to be concise, and that's really what I'm grading you on. I'm posting rubrics for every assignment that you have. There will never be an assignment that I give you in this class where you don't know what I'm grading you on, okay? Every grade has a rubric. Every grade has instructions. If you are unclear on any of those things in the rubric or in the instructions, you can always feel free to post it in the discussion section of our class. The reason why I say post it in the discussion, because other people may have questions as well. So I'm a stickler as it regards to format. The reason why I act this way, so I have to tell everybody this. The reason I act this way when it regards to formatting is I write grants for a living. So what that means is when I submit a grant to, let's say, the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and they say I need you to write in 11-point Arial font with half-inch margins all around, and I submit 12-point font with everything else correct, guess what? They kick my grant out and they won't review it. So I'm not doing this because I get some kind of rise out of saying, hey, y'all, do what I say or else. I'm doing this because you need to be thinking every time you submit an assignment, what are the formatting issues? What things do I need to make sure that I have to do, and you handle it. That's my job. My job is to make sure that you are in as much of a professionally real life situation as possible. So that's why I do that. So if you turn in an assignment that does not fit my format, I will not grade it. Right? So I period will not grade it. All right? So, and now if you do that twice, you will get half credit on the assignment. Okay? And the reason why is you shouldn't be doing my work at the last minute. That's the only thing I'm trying to get you all to understand as well, is that if you wait till the last minute to do a lot of these projects, you're going to fall into the fact where you forgot to change your font to, from Times New Roman to Arial font or whatever. So just remember that, all right? The other thing that I want you to keep in mind is that when it comes to the details of the syllabus, I have a very long syllabus. And the reason why is not because I got all these don't do this rules. I'm actually telling you how to get an A. I'm telling you write this way. I'm telling you do it this way. So your first legal brief will be something that you're going to have to put your heart and soul into, and you got to keep it to a single space page, given the requirements of that. And we'll go through it. I'll tell you what you did right, what you did wrong, and I will give it back to you. But I'll only give it back to you if you put a B-level effort into it or higher. If you didn't put a B-level effort or higher, guess what? Your grade will stand, okay? So let's get on to our next part, the policy brief. Policy brief, let me go back right quickly to your legal briefs, because there'll be 3 cases that I'll go over each week. Every time I do a lecture with you, I'll go over 3 cases. And I will actually brief at least 2 of them. I'll say 1, but I'll probably brief at least 2 for you. And then I will not brief the one that's due for the week, because y'all ain't going to look at what I did and then rewrite it. That'll be stupid. I'd be grading myself. That's dumb. So I'll brief 2 of them for you so you can kind of see how it goes and all of that kind of stuff, and then you can have it, okay? So you'll only have to do 3 briefs, okay? That's it for the whole semester. So that's 3 pages. That's it, okay? 3 pages. So that's not bad. I'm being nice, right? Then for your policy brief, the policy briefs will be, and I'll put all the details of the mechanics for the brief in your syllabus. I have not put that in there yet. I'm not sure if it is or not, but I have it in one form, but I'm not sure if I put it on your Canvas site just yet. But nonetheless, the policy brief will be between 3 to 5 pages. And we will detail that extensively as the time comes. But again, the format stuff is what I'm going to be a stickler on, okay? And your policy brief, which is critical for you to note, your policy brief will actually be mostly a part of your final exam, okay? I expect when you are completing your final, that your policy brief be finally turned in during that point. But I will have a due date for 2 sets of drafts for your policy brief, so that way I can make sure you're on the right track. And the only reason we're doing that is I'm actually trying to help you apply some of the things that we've learned and we are learning as far as history and all of the other things that's dealing with interventions in vulnerable communities. All right? So now let's get to what I think is going to be an exciting part of our class. I know not many people get excited about writing the way I do, but I love it. We're going to have our translational research project, which is also noted as the peer review commentary. So what that means, I'm asking you a simple question now. Have you ever published a peer review article? Have you ever? If you have, congratulations. If you haven't, if you stay in this class, I'm going to get you at least 2. That's my goal. We want to be able to submit, and I want to take you through that whole process so you get to know what it means to publish a paper. We will all, including me, write a peer-reviewed set of commentaries for academic journals. Those things are usually about 1,500 words. They're not long. So just keep that in mind. They're not long at all. And I will lead 2 teams to help you get published. So meaning I will be the team lead, and you all will have your assignments and directives, and then we'll, come back and forth. So we'll go over through the month of November working on that stuff, and I can promise y'all this is going to be a fun process. We'll schedule conference calls and chats to discuss the papers. We won't be doing much as in regards to lectures after this point. It'll be all writing, and then I'll also try to prep your what am I trying to say here? I'm also going to prep your final review around that week of November, that first week in November. So you already have that, so you guys can really start studying for that as well. So you won't have to like finish this peer review paper and process and then say, oh my gosh, now I got to study for my test. No, I'm gonna have it all for you. The thing also to note is that these translational research project will also have a component where we'll create a 1,500 word manuscript together, all of us, and we'll have a social media campaign for this manuscript. So I don't know if y'all know this, but a lot of people write articles and nobody talks about it, right? So I try to write, I write stuff that's pretty controversial, you know, don't tell anybody, but I talk about a lot of people's work. But I write some controversial stuff, and because of that, often I have to be my own promoter. So I got to use memes and Facebook, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff to talk about my work. So I want to take you all through that process, and we'll do that during the month of November. But leading up to that, we'll, you know, have discussion posts that'll address stuff like that as well. So now let's get to the big mamba. Don't be mad at me. Y'all know we cool, right? So let's talk about the final exam. The final exam will be administered online via Canvas. 50 questions, multiple choice, true, false, and essay. Now, the thing to know is that those multiple choice and true, false questions would typically come straight from your quizzes and your weekly discussion stuff that we talk about anyway. So all of that will be right there in front of you. I will allow you to use whatever you need to use because you know, you only have a certain amount of time with that. But you know, this is going to be a test that I know you can do well on. I'm going to prepare you each week to be a beast when it comes to knowing race, law, and health the way I do. Your policy brief will be a part of the final exam, but graded separately. So those percentage points that you saw, I separated that out because I don't want you to feel like, oh my gosh, you know, this final is 40% of my grade. Instead of that, it's 30%, yes. The policy brief is really something that I want to be iterative. So I don't want you to just focus on writing a brief and learning questions. I want it all to be a process so that once you write a paper, it's never about writing a paper and it's perfect. Sometimes you write, and you're going to see this in some of my slides, I'm going to mess up. I'm going to have typos or something like that in some places. And it's an iterative process. It's a process where you do things, you fix it, you try it again. Okay, that didn't make sense, cool, you fix it again. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, and we're going to do that in the best way possible. Also, the thing that I want you to know is that I provide full sets of class notes, right? So what I do is I gut the notes based on the important stuff, so that way you got to do some work. Now, I'm not just going to be up here talking all day and needing Lipton tea every day of the week. I need y'all to take notes and, you know, whatever things you're grappling with or, you know, have questions about, we'll have a discussion post each week, or discussion board each week, so that you can ask questions and we can engage each other that way. When it comes to anything dealing with course content, I want you to make sure that you post only on Canvas. Don't email me because other students may have those same questions. Now, let's get to some final considerations and then we'll be done. Final considerations. I want to talk to you about the resources that the University of Florida offers. But I also want to talk to you a little bit about this number one thing that I always have to say, and I don't like saying it, but it's always funny when it happens: academic integrity. I had a student last year who actually, which I never thought I would say this, but she plagiarized me, like my work. And I ain't talking about plagiarized like a sentence or two. We're talking about 2 pages that she literally copied and pasted from one of my articles. Now, I don't know how she didn't think that I would notice it, but anyway, I just want you all to know that, you know, there's no reason to cheat. I'm giving you so much leeway to get your work done that you don't have to do that, okay? You don't have to do that. Now, class attendance and makeup work, the class attendance thing is kind of moot. I said mute. See, that's what I was talking about. You remember I was telling you about those people that got education and then some that do not. I just sounded like my uncle who thinks he has an education saying mute when I should have said moot. So y'all forgive me. It's been a long day, and I'm actually posting on my birthday, so this is all fun. So turn up, I guess, right? But anyway, the class attendance issue is pretty much a non-issue because this is an online class. But makeup work in itself, I do not do makeup work. You have no reason to not get this stuff done. You should be on a good track to get our work done for this course. If you miss an assignment or deadline, guess what? You've gotten a zero. Unless barring some kind of medical emergency that can be documented and proven, I'm sorry. We're all busy. We all have things going on, but I need you all to know that you have to be accountable. And that's the only way I can do that. Any accommodations that are necessary for students with disabilities, please make sure that you get the appropriate paperwork and you take it to the African American Studies Program office over in Walker Hall with Sharon Burney. Sharon will be my eyes for campus, and she'll be able to verify things with me. You can also email me, and I'll copy her on that to make sure we have your info on file, because I just want to make sure we have everything in place. So if you need anything from me, that I'll make sure that I get it to you. The other thing that I want you to know is that there are plenty of counseling and student health services on campus. Every year, we have students that get missing, that literally stop coming to class, stop participating in class, and then send us an email at the end of the year saying, I still need to pass your class to graduate, or I need this class to get this and keep my scholarship and things like that. And as sympathetic as I am to those things and those stories and the truths of your life, you have to have ownership and really say, okay, I need help. And I promise you, if you need anything, you all can contact me, and trust me, you know, for those who know me or know of me, they'll tell you I will be there in a heartbeat to help you in whichever way I can. But I can't help you if you don't tell us, right? So if you have any kinds of issues going on, whether it's a family issue, financial issue, you're having academic problems, let us know so we can help you and route you in the appropriate direction. Particularly if you get sick. Any kind of thing like the pneumonia, any kind of illness that's taking you out for too long, you need to contact the Dean of Students office. Do not contact me after everything is well, like, oh, I got dog sick and I couldn't do any kind of work, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that, after a month has gone by, because I won't accept that notice, okay? So I just want you to understand that, and that's what the Dean of Students office is for. So all of this stuff is detailed within your syllabus, but I want to make sure that I actually speak on that. And also the other thing that I want to say to you is that I want you to know that you all are loved. I don't know you, I don't see your faces. Some of you, I've seen a couple of you. But the thing I want you to know is that you are loved. And if you're having issues that just make it difficult to confront, the thing I want you to know, I'm not a counselor, I'm not certified in counseling, but the thing I can do is I can send you in the right direction, and I can make sure that you get all the help you need. But I cannot help you if you don't talk to us, okay? I've had students who failed classes over breaking up with their boyfriend or girlfriend. Failed a class over somebody you're not going to even see again, you know, after y'all break up. Like, I understand the levity of it, but don't let a decision like this ruin you forever, right? And like I told a student, I had a student in my class, this was last year too. I had a very interesting course I taught last year. But I had a student in my class come to me crying, like literally crying. I gave her 7 extensions on a paper. And don't y'all try me either. I'm not going to give none of y'all that many extensions for anything. But I did it for her because I genuinely was concerned. And she finally told me what was going on, because I don't like to ask. I don't like to dig too deep, because you shouldn't have to tell me your life story for me to be a human. And I finally just say, what's up? What's happening? And she tells me that, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend. He's like family. And the thing that I said to her, and it goes down in history as one of the probably best/worst things I ever said to a student probably. But the thing I said to her is, I said, that young man that you just broke up with, you will not know in 10 years. I said to her, however, this F that you get in this class will last the rest of your life. I've done everything I could do to help you. Everything. And you still didn't step up to the plate. There's nothing else I can do. And the thing that I want you guys to understand is that I get things happen, and trust me, I'm gonna be probably emailing y'all a couple of times saying, hey y'all, I'm a little late on this, whatever, but know that we all need a break sometimes. We all need somebody to just be concerned and care about us. And I will be that for you, but don't take advantage of it, okay? Now when it comes to grading, I grade on the normal scale of A minus and A and all that good stuff. So you see that in your syllabus. So I just wanted to make sure I note that because we have to. So haggling me about your grade is probably, you can do it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to change anything. I'll listen, but I don't argue much over grades. I usually don't take off for everything. Typically when I grade, I grade fairly harshly, but only take off a certain amount of what I actually indicated as an issue in your paper. I'm not going to keep marking the same thing wrong. I'm going to mark it wrong once if I notice it's a habitual issue in your paper. So I try to be equitable when it comes to that. All right. But once you start haggling me for grades, then that reopens everything that I marked wrong. So I can tell you in particular, I remember a student got like 10 things wrong on the paper. I only graded them down for 3 of those 10. They come back trying to argue with me about those 3. And I said, well, shoot, since we're going to talk about these 3, let's go ahead and talk about all 10. So just keep that in mind that when and everything I grade in track changes so you can see my comments and all of that. It'll be no mystery. You have track changes and you'll have the rubric, okay? So that's all I got for you for today. Again, welcome to Race, Law, and Health. It is my humble and esteemed pleasure to be able to be your professor for this class. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can certainly email me. And I want to welcome you to the class, and I want to also encourage you to fill out this week's discussion post. It should be fun. All right? You all take care, and I can't wait for a great semester.